Hello everyone, tonight we are climbing the attic steps of a house that does not blink. You are here now, your hand brushing a wooden railing that never settles on the same temperature twice. The floorboards sigh beneath your feet as if exhaling a secret they've been holding in since the last snowfall. The light bulb above you swings, even when there's no draft, and the rope, yes, the one tied to the beam in the far corner, has already begun fraying again exactly like it does every winter, as if it were aging in dog years. You probably won't survive. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is there. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. The attic doesn't like being opened after the solstice. The latch resists your fingers in a way that feels not mechanical, but personal. Like it remembers the last time you were here and has had exactly 1 year to think about it. The rope, which no one in the house recalls hanging, lies slack in the same spot it was the year before. And the year before that. And the year your uncle claimed he sealed this place off with 6 nails and a priest who brought his own ladder. There's something about old rope that unnerves people. Scholars say it's the tension, the visible promise of collapse. Or maybe it's because rope is older than iron, older than writing, and always associated with two things: climbing or falling. The earliest known rope made of twisted bast fiber was found in a cave in Lascaux, France, over 15,000 years old. That one never frayed. This one does. Always by winter's first frost, the attic air is colder than the outside. Not winter cold, but funeral cold. The kind of chill that seems to remember something you haven't. When you blink, the rope looks just slightly shorter. You try not to blink again. There's dust here, but not like you expect. No blanket across the floor, no clumps on the shelves. Only that peculiar fine-grained dust that hovers in the air like ash from a fire long gone, refusing to land. You sweep a hand across an old trunk and the surface is clean. You run your finger along the wooden beam. Clean. Only the rope collects it. Thick gray powder caked into the fibers as if it's inhaling the room while everything else holds its breath. You try to laugh, but the sound echoes back in a voice a little too slow to be yours. Some researchers still argue whether objects can hold memory like tape or bone. Whether wood can listen and replay what it's absorbed. An old Victorian theory said that sounds could be imprinted into stone if the air pressure was just right, like grooves on a record. The theory never caught on. But you remember the creak the rope made last winter and how it stopped creaking the moment you turned your back. Your phone buzzes once. No signal, just the screen lighting up with a weather warning from a week ago. That's the first joke tonight. The only reliable forecast in this house is expect unsettling rope behavior. There's a window on the north wall. It always sticks shut, but tonight it's open just a sliver and outside snow is falling with the slow precision of regret. You approach, half hoping to find footprints on the shingles, half hoping not to. The rope behind you creaks once. You don't turn around. There used to be a lamp in the corner, but it's gone. Just a bare circle on the wood, the faint impression of something that provided light and then left like a ghost that lost its job. Second joke. This attic is a great place to store unwanted furniture, family secrets, and seasonal depression. You sit on the edge of an old chest. Something clicks underneath you. Not the wood, something inside it. Something mechanical. You lean down, ear to the surface. The sound doesn't repeat. But when you look up, the rope is swinging gently. There is no wind. There is no fan. There is no one else here. According to local folklore gathered mostly from nervous neighbors and one chatty mail carrier, the house once belonged to a widowed seamstress who tied a new knot in the attic rope each time a child was lost to winter fever. The story was mostly dismissed until someone noticed that the number of knots changed each year. Always more. Your breath fogs slightly in front of you, which is odd, because you're not exhaling. Third joke. This attic has better attendance records than the town registry. You stand slowly and approach the rope. It hangs from a beam that's darker than the rest of the wood, stained not by water, but something subtler, years of touch or avoidance. You reach out. The rope twitches. You freeze. A sound rises in your ears, not creaking now, but humming. Faint, deliberate. As if the attic were trying to remember a tune it only sings during snowstorms. Then silence. You retreat from the beam, step by slow step until your back touches the door frame. You don't turn your back on it. You wait. The rope doesn't move again, but it doesn't settle either. Outside, snow keeps falling. You leave the attic light on. You always do. The door clicks shut on its own. The attic rope is older this morning. You notice it before you open the hatch how the ceiling panel seems lower than usual, as if the weight of the winter pressed it down in the night. The ladder unfolds reluctantly. You climb one step then another, like a guest at a house party thrown by someone who no longer lives there. Your breath fogs in the cold. You haven't exhaled yet. Up here, the rope hangs exactly where you left it. Almost. It's shorter. Just an inch. Maybe less. Enough that your heart pretends not to notice. Enough that your shadow cast by the dusty bulb above now touches the rope's frayed end when you stand in the center of the room. Some ancient ropes were woven to tighten themselves over time. Egyptian burial bindings used a pattern so precise some modern archaeologists believe they had been mechanically pulled taut until a craftsman in Luxor showed them how it could be done with breath patience and a little tension from the moon. They still don't agree how he did it. In the far corner of the attic, a circle of melted frost has formed on the wooden planks. The rest of the boards remain dry. Just one dark wet ring, perfectly round like a water stain left by something standing still for far too long. Or something that crouched. A joke to steady your hand, maybe the attic moonwalked in the night and forgot to wipe its feet. Today you bring a mirror with you. An old compact, the kind left in drawers with broken jewelry and unpaid parking tickets. You hold it over your shoulder and turn your back to the rope. Nothing happens for a full minute. Then the mirror fogs. You haven't breathed on it. Some researchers believe certain environments retain more psychic residue than others. Basalt caves, salt flats, attics, perhaps built with reclaimed wood from places that didn't want to be forgotten. A 1973 study on inherited trauma proposed that dread could pass between generations without stories transmitted, like scent or temperature. The study was widely criticized but never entirely disproven. In your family, no one talks about what happened in this attic, but no one enters it after January either, except you. You shine your flashlight across the ceiling beams. No insulation, just the raw underbelly of the roof. Dust floats in slow, dignified spirals like feathers attending their own funeral. A strand of the rope detaches as you watch. The frayed thread swings down and lands at your feet with the weight of a dead moth. Second joke, this attic sheds more than your uncle's Pomeranian. You crouch to examine the thread. It's coiled slightly like it's been wound before. A knot that has untied itself. You remember the story of the seamstress the knots added each winter. You never counted them. You count them now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 6. You swear there were 4 last year. Your fingers tremble not from cold. The knots are loose, amateurish, the kind a child might make while pretending to tie a shoe. Or the kind someone might tie without looking from behind their back with trembling fingers and a whisper in their ear saying faster. A wind whistles through the slat near the window, but the window is closed and nailed shut. Below your feet, the house creaks not from movement but memory. The kind of sound a floor makes when someone walks across it who isn't there anymore, but who left footprints on the underside of your dreams. You remember when your cousin dared you to cut the rope 3 years ago. You brought scissors. You remember raising your hand and the attic going dark before you touched the fibers. You told him the bulb blew, but you remember the scissors rusted overnight and your cousin never came back to visit. Scholars debate whether iron rusting without moisture is a natural phenomenon or a sign of chemical memory. You prefer the explanation that your cousin lied about the scissors. It's easier. You set the mirror on the floor and back away. The frost ring is gone, replaced now by 2 smaller rings, heel-shaped, facing the rope. Third joke. Either someone else is up here, or your house has excellent balance and a petty sense of humor. You turn to leave and pause. On the part of the attic door near the base are faint scratch marks. Thin, deliberate vertical. Not like claws, like fingernails that knew how to count. 6 marks, the 7th unfinished. You trace one with your thumb. A splinter slips under your nail. You jerk back. Blood beads and rolls over your knuckle, stopping at your wrist like it's listening. Then it drips one perfect dot onto the floor. The rope creaks. You do not look back. As you descend, the attic hatch closes more slowly than usual. A drawn breath interrupted. You sleep with the hallway light on that night, and the mirror under your pillow just in case reflection can still protect you from the thing it no longer shows. It begins to unravel in the middle of the night. Not the rope, you. The warmth in your hands lingers a beat too long when you pull the covers tighter. Your mouth tastes like wood smoke, though you haven't lit a fire in days. And when you dream, you hear rope twisting, not falling, not breaking, just twisting slow and methodical as if being braided by invisible hands. You wake with the sound still in your ears, the hum of tension being remembered. The attic is silent in the morning, but the silence has moved. You can feel it pressing against the ceiling like steam against a lid. Waiting to be released, or perhaps already released, waiting to be acknowledged. Some ancient cultures believed knots could trap spirits. The Norse had wind knots cords sold to sailors with winds tied inside each knot, loosed when a certain breeze was needed. The third knot was never to be undone. You wonder, without amusement, how many knots your attic rope has left to open. A joke, maybe? You'd call a priest, but the last one didn't leave a forwarding address. You bring gloves this time, not to touch the rope, but to protect your fingerprints from what you don't know. It just feels polite. The attic door is heavier, not metaphorically, actually heavier. You struggle to lift it. The ladder groans as if each rung remembers your weight. When you open the hatch, the attic is darker than ever before. Not just lightless hungry. Your flashlight flickers once, then steadies. The beam lands on the rope. It no longer swings. It has coiled. Suspended in the air, twisted into a spiral like a snail shell, or the shape your grandmother's hair made on her pillow in the hospice bed the morning she passed. The mirror you left is gone. Instead, on the attic floor, a piece of parchment. No, not parchment paper. Yellowed, torn at the edge, folded once with something handwritten in charcoal. A symbol or a letter. Not Latin, not Greek. Something older. It looks familiar in the way a dream does an hour after waking, recognizable but unreachable. Scholars studying early scripts often speak of the proto-writing gap symbols and glyphs too ambiguous to be called true language. From Jiahu to Tartaria, these signs rest on the edge of meaning. One linguist called them the lullabies of writing songs, no longer sung, only hummed. The paper hums in your fingers. A sudden gust from behind. You turn and the attic window is open. It should be impossible. It was nailed shut. The nails lie on the floor now, curled slightly as if they'd changed their minds. The snow outside has stopped, but the air smells of smoke, not fire. Burned fabric, like someone lit a funeral shroud. Or worse, extinguished it just before it caught. You lean out carefully. Below the yard is marked with 6 long indentations perfectly parallel, as if someone dragged a rope across the snow back and forth again and again, each pass cutting deeper. A pattern made with patience or prayer. Second joke. Your attic's rope has more outside time than you do. You close the window, but the air inside has already changed. Warmer now, but damp. The kind of warmth found in old sheds and locked cellars, where decay is trying its best to feel like comfort. You lower yourself to the attic floor, and for the first time you speak aloud. Who are you? Nothing answers. Of course nothing answers. But the rope uncurls like a cat stretching, then coils again. Slowly, deliberately, with intention. You don't scream. There's no room for that. Only a shallow breath and the feeling of your stomach bracing against your spine. There's another slip of paper near the trunk. You hadn't seen it before. This one reads, "Undo the 7th." That's all. Below the text, 7 short vertical lines, the last one unfinished. You remember the scratches on the attic door? You remember the knots. You remember your cousin's dare. The rope that creaked before the lights went out. The mirror that fogged without breath. You remember suddenly that you used to come up here as a child. Before it was cold. Before the rope. You used to sit on that very trunk and draw with crayons. You even gave the rope a name. Something childish, windy, because it used to sway like it had somewhere to go. But you also remember falling once. Not down the ladder, but deeper. Into sleep. A nap, they said. But you woke up with a streak of dust across your face and a knot in your hair. A knot no one claimed to have tied. Some researchers believe memory isn't stored in the brain like files in a cabinet, but rebuilt every time we recall them. Meaning, if you remember something wrong enough, times it becomes right. Or at least real. You stare at the paper again. Undo the 7th. There are 6 knots. For now, your flashlight flickers again. You rise. Hands trembling. The rope does not move, but it feels like it's waiting. This time, you come prepared with a pair of scissors, your grandfather's field journal, and a small ceramic bell that once hung over your childhood crib. You don't know why you bring the bell. Maybe because it jingled when you slept. Maybe because it didn't always. The attic greets you in silence. That particular kind of silence that isn't empty but full brimming with withheld sound. You wonder how many words were swallowed in here. How many names never spoken aloud again. The rope doesn't swing anymore, it waits. At the center of the attic, something new. A wooden chair. Old, carved. Not from your house. You would swear on any book that it wasn't there yesterday. It faces the rope. You don't touch it, but your shadow does. And for a moment, your shadow looks like it's sitting watching the rope with the patience of something that no longer believes in time. Third joke. At least your haunting has a seating area now. You circle the chair slowly. No footprints. No drag marks. As if it grew here. Sprouted from the boards like a mushroom feeding on memory. You place the bell on the floor beside the rope. It doesn't ring. You sit on the trunk and open your grandfather's journal. He was a cartographer, but toward the end, he began mapping dreams. Not metaphorically. He drew diagrams of geographic sleep phenomena, the places people claim to visit night after night. Recurring staircases. Familiar windows in unfamiliar houses. One sketch shows an attic nearly identical to this one, down to the rope and the half-moon window. In the margin, a note. It knows when you stop pretending it's not real. You don't remember him writing that. But the handwriting is unmistakably his. Some anthropologists believe that architecture influences dreaming. That sloped ceilings and angular shadows stimulate more vivid subconscious imagery. Others believe the reverse, that our dreams build spaces first, and houses rise to match them later. You stand and approach the rope again. 6 knots. Tight, uneven, newer than the rope itself. You touch the first, it resists. The second looser. The third too tight. Fourth loose again. Fifth dries and stiff. The sixth is warm. You don't untie them, not yet. Instead, you mark each with a thread of different color like beads on a rosary. You whisper nonsense words as you do it just to fill the air. The attic seems to listen. The way a deep forest does, interested but unimpressed. Outside, the sky darkens, but the snow has stopped again. The rope glistens faintly in the changing light. You hear a sound. The bell? Just once. You turn sharply, but no one's there. Only the chair facing the rope, but it has shifted. Slightly. It now points to the hatch. You freeze. Then kneel and look beneath the chair. There's a line in the dust, faint, shallow. The path of something dragged from the center of the room to the far corner and back again. It loops once around the trunk, then stops. A loop, not a trail, a noose shape. You pull the journal closer. Flip the pages. In the middle, one is torn. Only the bottom remains with one half sentence. Just don't name it. You slam the book shut. There is a concept in the Mesopotamian myth, Shemu. The belief that certain names could wake a spirit just by being thought. That the syllables of the dead lingered in rooms like moths waiting for breath to carry them again. You've been thinking about the rope for days now. You know its name, the name you gave it as a child. Windy. You say it aloud, very softly, and the rope lifts. Not fully, just a twitch. Just a flinch like muscle waking. You stumble back, knock over the bell. It rings twice. You don't remember the second sound coming from the bell. Second joke. At least now you know the rope is listening. Might be time to stop monologuing. You reach for the scissors, hands shaking. You grab the sixth knot, the warm one. You begin to cut, but the rope doesn't part. It bleeds. Not blood, just something red. Rust-colored, sap-like. It smells like old wood and extinguished candles. The attic shudders. Only once. As if something exhaled from beneath the floorboards. Something enormous. Something with memory. You drop the scissors. The bell rings again. The attic window bursts open, not with wind, but pull as if the sky were drawing breath inward. Loose papers scatter. Your grandfather's journal flips to the torn page. The missing top half has been reattached. You didn't do it. It reads, "The seventh is you." You don't breathe. The rope still swings. The knots unravel one by one without your touch. Each loosening knot falls like a second hand on a clock winding in reverse. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The attic is suddenly full of sound, but none of it reaches your ears, just pressure and presence. The seventh knot remains. You didn't tie it, but it's around your wrist. You hadn't noticed until now. You try to pull away, but the rope doesn't let go. The rope doesn't pull, it waits. Your wrist is wrapped in its final knot, not tight, not painful. Simply there like a hand you didn't feel until it was already holding yours. You try to lift your arm, but it moves with the patience of molasses, as though the attic's weight is now shared between you. The bell rings again, but this time not from the floor. It rings from above. You look up. The ceiling beam now bears a second rope, thinner, paler. Its fibers woven from something that catches the light without reflection, and from it hanging still and soundless is the bell you dropped just moments ago. Or an echo of it. Your bell still lies on the floor by your feet, silent. Some researchers claim that sound leaves behind a residue that in extremely still environments, especially ones filled with porous material like wood and plaster tones, can imprint like footprints. Old studios have captured melodies no one remembers playing. One monastery in Italy reportedly recorded a chant that hadn't been sung for 500 years. The attic has been still for so long. You step backward. The knot around your wrist pulls slightly. Not hard, not urgent, just enough to remind you. You lower yourself to the floor, breathing in shallow waves. The scissors lie nearby, rust now blossoming along the hinge like lichen. The pages of your grandfather's journal lie open. The map of the attic is clearer now. Familiar shapes sketched with new confidence. One marking glows faintly in the dusk light, a spiral. Where the rope hangs, where you now sit. You trace it with your finger. The paper warms beneath your touch. Not metaphorically, genuinely. As if the attic itself is remembering you back. You begin to hum, a melody you don't know. Or maybe it's one you heard long ago from the mouth of someone long gone. The rope sways with the rhythm, not swinging, just shifting gently like an old companion, listening to a story it already knows the end of. You think of the scratches on the attic door. 6 tallies, 1 unfinished. You think of the footsteps that never showed in the snow. You think of Windy, the name that felt like a joke once. A child's word. A whisper meant to make something less frightening. To give it shape, to control it. Naming things gives you power, but only if the thing doesn't already know its name. The final knot loosens, uncoils from your wrist like a departing spider. You exhale. The attic exhales back. The bell above stops ringing. And all at once the silence leaves. Not breaks, not ends, it leaves. The attic feels lighter, almost hollow. You blink. The chair is gone. The rope is frayed again, just one single strand hanging limp. The kind you could break with a breath. There are no knots. There is no message. just the hatch door gently swaying as if you'd never come up. You descend the ladder slowly. Each step feels like a year sloughing off your back. You close the hatch behind you, and this one time you do not hear the latch catch. You sleep that night with no lights on, no dreams, no bell. When morning comes, you check the attic. There's no rope, no chair, no journal, just a scattering of dust and one small unfinished scratch at the bottom of the door. The 7th mark. It's still not complete, and maybe it never will be, unless you come back, unless someone else names it, unless the silence remembers your tune. You live in the house a little longer. The winters come and go. The attic stays shut obedient the way a mouth stays shut when it's been heard. Sometimes late at night you hear a soft creak, nothing more. Not a call, not a warning. Just the sound of memory stretching its arms. One spring you move out, you don't say goodbye. The new owners bring boxes, plants, children's laughter. They ask nothing about the attic. And you tell them nothing. But you forget to take one thing with you. The bell. It still hangs in a room that shouldn't have it. Facing a window that never opens. Catching dust that never settles. One day when the snow returns, they'll hear it. Just once. And they'll wonder why it only ever rings in winter.